गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। I have with me General Dushyant Singh, who's just returned from USA. And when he was there, he interacted with a couple of leading think tanks, including Wilson, Heritage Foundation, and all that. And he had a good idea. I mean, a fair and free exchange of views uh, with them. I'm sure he had a exchange of views on a lot of issues, and of course, what's at this point of time going on. Uh, and at this point of time, the way things are, no kinetic action has started. Nothing much has, happened except seems to be setting the stage for a kinetic action if it is to take place. How, when, why? It's still in the offing. It's still in the air. Whereas Pakistan is all panic stations. Everything is, they put all the instruments of national power on standby, and they have gone to everyone. They mounted a major diplomatic offensive, and they're at it. Whereas when we see the Indian side, we've been silent, steady. We are doing what we have to do. It's a contrast. But in this contrast, one has to understand that on the very first day when the Pahalgam incident happened, USA came out and said, it's a heinous incident, this, that, all that, and it appeared they were completely with India. But as days went by, you know, uh, a certain shift is seen. USA is going to a more neutral kind of a position. They're saying, look, sort it out. We don't want war and things like that. And this is a normal line which we've heard far too many times, right from the days of Op Parakram, Op Vijay, and all that. It's not in US interest that India and Pakistan go for a war. For that matter, it's not in anyone's interest, but specifically, I'm talking of US because we're going to talk of US. And as days go by, I think we all understand the position of USA, the stance it takes, everything will be crucial to the outcomes of this conflict, however it goes.
Yes.
And it's not only crucial for the outcome of this conflict, it is also crucial for the outcome of the larger position of India in the global stage. So, with the trade war going the way it is, XYZ, it is in this context I said, look, we must talk of what USA's stake in this is, what stances, and what they want to do or not do. And it is just very opportune for us that General Dushyant has been to US, and I'm sure he's discussed this in some form or the other. He'll share his views with us. Of course, he'll share what is required to be shared in a public forum, and I'm sure he's discussed a lot more with them, which cannot be spoken in the public forum also, which need not be spoken. But what he will convey to us today, I'm very sure, will be something quite not what we expect, or we think we know. That's how geopolitics is these days. With this longish kind of a preamble, I'd request General Dushyant. Dushyant, please take over. It's all yours.
Thank you, sir, and a very good evening to all the audience of Gunner Shot. And I don't know
You
whether
might
it
have
is
to
being.
speak a little louder.
I said, sir, very good evening to your audience of the Gunner Shot, to you, and to all the audience. If it is being beamed in cloth, I'm not sure, but it's a subject which was not being discussed in this, halabula of aftermath of Pahalgam attack. I think we need to take a stock as to how will America pan out its future course of action as far as South Asia is concerned, and how China will negotiate itself and Russia. I think these are the three, four players who would be watching South Asia very closely. So, with that brief preamble, I would like to first kill one issue, and that is that my visit to US and what I gathered from the interactions which I had at that place. And one thing which I realized when I visited there was that US by no means of doubt now considers China as its rival, not as somebody to be cooperating with. Russia's closeness to China is not really acceptable to US. So therefore, it is making all efforts to ensure that Russia is prized out of the Chinese uh, brotherhood, which has been seen since 2022. And for that, I think Trump administration has made a number of moves. Whether it is fructifying or not, that's a different issue. As far as India is concerned, the American view is very clear that its interests lie in China's containment, and the best bet as of today is India. In addition, since there is a tariff war going on between China, which is taking up and down, sometimes he announces tariff, sometimes he backs out of tariff. I think there is another game which is being played, which I will not like to mention here. But suffice it to say that there is a kind of um, a trade war which is going on. So therefore, US has to survive and economically, because its own position is not very good, with so much of debt and supply chains being disrupted, because most of its supply chain was dependent on China. So therefore, those supply chains have to be reinstated or recreated. So India becomes a very important factor, both strategically and economically, for the US. Now, the US is guided by, and like we are now being guided for the last 20, 10, 15 years, and that is national interest, national interest, and national interest. Some people call it as sovereign interest, sovereign interest, sovereign interest. So America only acts in its sovereign interest. That's by far a very clear consideration before you take any kind of decision vis-a-vis US and India is concerned, or vis-a-vis US and any other country is concerned. So if the US doesn't have any interest in you, it is not going to really interact with you. So whatever interaction which we are seeing as of now with the US, it's primarily because it has very deep interests in India. Now, these deep interests do not flow from ideology. I repeat again, they do not flow from ideology that both are democratic countries. I mean, this is a normal thing which people keep touting, that both are democratic, largest. The other one is the India
Oldest.
oldest and largest. All those metaphors are used, but primarily it's the interest which is now India occupies a center stage. Now, where does Pakistan, between India and Pakistan, US stand? That's a very important question which we need to understand quite clearly. Before we do that, I'll run through a presentation which I have made, which is more related to the Pahalgam and after. So, can we start with the presentation, sir? If we can, yes. So,
1 minute, 1 minute,
it's there, I think.
1 minute.
I'll upload. I'll add it.
No, no, I'll add it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Let me
So,
circle it.
where does US stand between India and Pakistan? Ugly innovation in a ugly innovation in a terror threat by TRF and its sponsor Muniristan, with blood of humanity and Hindus on his hand. This is the kind of summation I have made of I'm now talking of Pakistan more as Muniristan than a Pakistan per se, because whatever is happening in Pakistan, it is directly now being driven by Munir. You find that PM Shahbaz is also not seen in public. He's in hiding somewhere. He's not coming out in the open. Even Munir issued one video, and thereafter he's absent without leave as far as Pakistan is concerned. But he is pulling all strings as far as future course of action of Pakistan is there. Even Imran Khan has not been spared some kind of uh, unconfirmed reports of his being ill-treated in the jail, etc., have also been floating around. I don't want, I don't want. But the greater, larger point which I want to bring out here is that despite all this, Pakistan enjoys certain leverages both with China as well as with America. So America is not going to abandon Pakistan totally. It is likely to do a strategic balance. So before we go in for that, I would also like to share with the audience how is America restructuring its defense forces. Now, this is something probably most of us may not be aware that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has issued a letter on 30th of April giving very clear-cut directions to Secretary of Army, United States of America, Army. I'm repeating again, not Air Force, Navy, or Marines. Secretary of Army to undertake major reforms of the army. Now, is there a signal for us? So let me just cover what are those major reforms. That will tell you how US is now going to actually move forward as far as geopolitics is concerned and as far as its national security is concerned. So here is the sorry here is the orders which he has given as far as the restructuring, reformation, transformation, whatever you want to call, of the US Army. Order issued on 30th of April. That means it's a very, very new direction given. It may surprise many of our own military planners. US Army must prioritize defense of the homeland and deter China in the Indo-Pacific. There is a change in policy. Earlier, defense of the homeland was, considered as ho jayega. It will, it will just be taken care of. We are too far off and nobody can touch us, etc. Now the defense of the homeland has become priority as part of the army. And then Indo-Pacific. So these two are the things. US has to somehow resolve Russia, Ukraine. It has to resolve Gaza. It has to resolve even India, Pakistan. So if that be the case, the first order which has been given is priority to long range precision fire and air missiles in defense, including Golden Dome program, cyber, electronic warfare, and counter space capabilities. Dome program is the program of missile defense against likely attack by its adversaries, because now it considers China is capable of inflicting damage the to United States of America and its homeland. Next point is even more important. Major increase in UAS and counter UAS capabilities in all field formations. AI driven command and control down to div headquarter. 3D printing capabilities. End or cancel programs judged ineffective, redundant, including manned aircrafts. These are, directions which are being given, and we have to also look at our way of growth of trajectory, what we should prioritize as far as our transformation and reformation is concerned. Language training programs to be modernized. Till date we have been only talking of Chinese language, etc., etc., but we've really not made very major progress in this area. We need, what is the meaning of modernization of language program? Now I can understand Mandarin, fine. I go to a particular school, college, or university, let's say JNU, and learn Chinese. But have we learned the military Mandarin at being spoken along the line of actual control? No. So our people don't understand when they are interacting. That is the level we have to take it. That is what is called modernization. Merge headquarters to synchronize effects. That means they are talking now of not having too many headquarters. Reduce, restructure manned attack helicopter units and augment them with drone and swarms. So they are very happy to give helicopters to us, because they are now more or less sitting ducks. And this also includes attack helicopters. That is a point to be noted. Divest some armor and aviation units. Even aviation is being reduced. merge army futures command and training and doctrine command. This is a problem even in our country. We have a training command and we have a strategic planning directorate under the deputy chief. Now, unless they are under the same configuration, they will not be in tune. And as you all are aware, we are doing some kind of a joint study between clause and IIT to exactly address this particular issue. So India is also realized this kind of a problem, and we are possibly trying to address it in our own way. Revise the Department of Defense hiring and firing policy for DoD civil employees. Again, DoD civil employees. This is a problem even in India, and we have been ignoring it. I don't know how many committees have been made exactly telling us that there is a need to reduce this particular component of our Ministry of Defense. But only I don't know when will this happen. We had Shekatkar committee which actually recommended this particular step. Then reduce general officers position. This is okay. They have a very large armed forces, so army, so therefore they have a little bit more strength of general officer. In their case, general officers are also brigadiers, which are one-star officers. In our case, we generally include general officers and major generals and above. So, if these are the if these are the directions which have now been given as late as 3 4 days back, what is the larger message? The larger message is huge investment in gray zone operations capability for the army of United States of America, and reorientation of conventional forces of the force services to ensure that they are in tune with the current technological uh, innovations which are taking place in terms of drones, in terms of AI, in terms of other emerging cutting edge technologies. And this is coming out of their reversals in Afghanistan, their reversals in Iraq, their reversals in, not really reversal in Syria, but yeah, I mean they were not really very great. It was they I mean, if you have to really analyze that how they won the Syrian war, was because they incorporated Kurd rebels, and Kurd rebels were actually the ones who were actually fighting on behalf of the US. So therefore, somewhere down the line, we also need to start thinking in those terms. We have to invest more in the new forms of warfare which are emerging. So with this background, let me state as to what is US interest. Now, US is guided by, like I said, interest. Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, he was an old poet of India. He wrote about Kurukshetra, war in Kurukshetra. He had said, while strength comes in many forms, IR comprehends only brute power. हिंदी में बोलते हैं जिसकी लाठी उसकी
Uski
भैंस.
pants.
Should India go beyond the world is one narrative to realism and pragmatism narrative, I think it is high time that we jettison certain ideological pinnings which actually restrict us from taking actions which are required to be taken when the time comes for it. We keep on debating, and ultimately the time passes, and then we repent that why we didn't do. I mean, there are a number of examples of the past I don't want to remember. Recount Mumbai, Pathankot, Puri, Pulwama. Bias. Most experts opine that strategic balancing vis-a-vis India and Pakistan would be the US approach. That's my finding which I have got. That means they are not going to abandon Pakistan. So we should not live in this fallacy that America is going to fully back us, and then no. I think if we start thinking in those terms, we will be badly misguided in our
What?
outcomes, sorry, in our approach, and finally the outcomes may not be as per our liking. Bias towards India will remain, but with China and Russia as its major concern, it will attempt to do a drawdown and not deflect Indian capability, or reduce Indian capability in a manner that we become ineffective in the Indo-Pacific. So therefore, there will be some kind of a balancing and some kind of a persuasion done not to indulge in a larger conflict. There may be a limited conflict which might occur. So this would be a major factor as we see actions taking place in the future. Geopolitical factors: contain Chinese influence in light of closer Russia-China ties. India best bet economically, militarily, and diplomatically. Pakistan, however, enjoys a geographical advantage. So there are very limited options for the US as far as its stance on India Pakistan conflict is concerned. And this should be the reality based upon which we should plan our operations for a strike back on Pakistan as part of post Pahalgam action. Where does some additional points just to buttress my argument? US India sales increased by 3.7 billion, which included maritime surveillance and air combat systems. But Russia's export dropped by 18% to India. China's expansion: US approved 131 million maritime surveillance equipment for India because China has started acting funny in the Indo Pacific. So India had to be given the maritime capability. Look at his priorities. Pahalgam is something else. Is strengthening India in the maritime domain. With what purpose? That we are strong enough in the Indo Pacific to meet its own requirement of the Indo Pacific. S 400 deal has worked both ways between China and the US. In the sense, Chinese are also not happy, US is also not happy. Somewhere we have also played a little bit smart here. The Americans are not happy with the S 400. I mean, this came loud and clear in my visit. They are just, I mean, they were, and they're open in saying this thing. It's like, when we started taking oil and gas from Russia, it is the same thing about the S 400. The levels are levels of, I would say, discord are the same. Gas and S 400 is almost being pitched at the same level. US military, but has US stopped supporting Pakistan? No. 450 million package for maintenance of F-16 fleet. Received 7 C-130 surveillance aircraft for surveillance and some drones. Strategic balance with a probable bias towards India, which I told you earlier also, would be the approach. As Russia and China are its major concern, it will attempt to limit the conflict. US economy in danger of recession, pushed back by EU, Canada, and China, it will bat for India more aggressively. This is one factor which India must leverage. That since its economy is not doing very well, it has to find alternate supply chains. We must progress our operations with the progress our uh, free trade deals, etc., with EU, Canada, and China. There is a change of government in Canada. I think we should try to leverage that change. And with China, we should see how much we can do trade so that we are not seen as going too close to them also, and we retain the ability to respond to any Chinese misadventure. Finally, what are some of the actions which India can quietly propagate or quietly support? You see, we found there was a report a few days back that C-17s had landed in Bagram airport. Although it has not been confirmed officially by the US and others, but it is believed that a lot of military equipment was supplied there. Now, this is a development which will prove very handy for us as a leverage against Pakistan, because unless Pakistan is forced to look even more westwards, our job of hitting back at Pakistan will be that much more difficult. It has to be presented a two front, if not three front, third front being inside its own country, whatever is happening. So, therefore, this development of using Afghanistan through a tacit support of the US, I think is very much a doable thing, and we should try to achieve this. Reports suggest the US may increase int operations, however, because it helps to contain China. I believe the US feels that China may start, it may have a presence in the Bagram Air Base, and that is the reason why the US is trying to quietly re-enter Afghanistan. And you'll find that uh, it was the Trump administration which actually entered into Doha agreement, and because of which Taliban actually came into power. So I think somewhere down the line they do have some leverage with the current Afghanistan government. What the experts are saying is that there could be a good into cooperation with India as far as US is concerned, and even with Israel. And hitting the enemy from unexpected fronts is something which we should be looking at. So entire 360 degrees available for India to hit at Pakistan. And in my view, it should be a sustained gray zone operations for 1 year, and simultaneous preparation for any escalation, so that we are able to respond in the conventional domain also. So this is the time for the military to keep asking for making up its deficiencies, if there are any, if there are any sustainability problem, logistics sustenance, war stamina issues are there, those should be worked upon, and then finally finally take an action which will once for all kill this issue of JNK and proxy war and uh, terrorist activities which Pakistan has been trying to wage. As per their own defense minister, it says that it has been doing this on the call of America. Dirty work. I mean, that's the word which he had used. That we are doing the dirty work of America since I think independence or something like that. So I think somewhere down the line we have to put a stop to all this proxy warfare which Pakistan has been waging against us, and the only way for this is use everything which you can get: intelligence from the US, intelligence from CIA, intelligence from Israel, and your own, of course, intelligence. I'm not saying that we depend on the foreign powers, but there are if there are any capability gaps, those should be filled up by our diplomatic and other means. So another thing which we need to look at is what should be our response. So non-kinetic responses are public assurance that we are on top of the thing and we will take actions against Pakistan. Do not hurry up this cry कि अभी तक 10 दिन हो गए, why haven't you taken any action, why, what are you doing? अरे भाई, चाणक्य ने बोला था कि दुश्मन को तब मारो जब वो लीस्ट एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा हो, जब वो बिल्कुल ही उसने ये इरादा बना लिया हो कि अब कुछ नहीं होने वाला, और तब उसको ठोको. I think that maxim has to be followed, because if we had to strike, then we should have struck immediately in the first 2 days, or if there is a delay now we have to look at a right opportunity to strike back. So please do not make people, do not put pressure on the security forces to take immediate action. They will take action. So that is the domestic response. In diplomatic terms, I think IR isolation you've already covered. We are actually taking rapid steps in this, and very effective steps. Global pressure is also mounting. We had carried out a research. I won't say research, but a study of the international support to India for following the Pahalgam attack, and Claus had tweeted this particular thing. It is 54.5% of the countries, 197 countries were looked at, and out of which we could gather data for 123 countries. Out of those 123 countries, 54.5% countries have expressed their solidarity and support. I'm not talking of condolences and condemnation. No, condolences and condemnations are separate figures. Solidarity and a support were 54.5%. On the contrary, Pakistan's support base was only China, and to some extent Hungary, Azerbaijan, and North
Turkey.
Korea, Turkey and North Korea. I mean, we can expect some kind of a support on from these countries. Even Iran is maintaining a fairly, it's not actually pro-India, but I would say neutral stance with a bias towards India. So diplomatic IR isolation is going great guns. Global pressure is also being mounted on Pakistan, and that is why it has started doing nuclear saber rattling also. FATF push and the World Bank IMF push, both are urgently needed, and India is, I think, taking the right kind of steps to ensure that Pakistan is pushed back into the FATF orbit and also the IMF. Engagement with partners. Now, this is something which we must start doing now. We are actually behind in this. We have to start taking partners on in confidence, because you will find that there is a situation now developing, and this will become very critical in the next 2 3 days, is that of Bangladesh Myanmar situation. There are reports of some kind of a uh, activity taking place, and America is also dealing there, and that is why I said we should not be complacent about American support. The Americans are dealing with Bangladesh and Myanmar to contain China. In the process, what is going to happen is that I believe they are supporting the Arakan army so that it fights the junta, and therefore Chinese junta connectivity is weakened, and Bangladesh has been used as a conduit. After all, Yunus did have linkages with CIA. The CIA remains the same. Their government may have changed, but the CIA's linkages are there. So I believe there is a continuous flow of equipment, defense equipment. Although there are some experts who are saying that it is humanitarian aid which is being given, but I have my doubts of that. I think, because why should 10 division of Bangladesh be told that you will not check these containers? Border guard Bangladesh has been told you will not check these containers while they are being sent to Arakan army. If it was humanitarian aid, where was the problem? That people have seen. Nobody would have objected to it. So therefore, there is something fishy going on there. We have to be careful about it, and we have to work our own solutions accordingly. So engagement with the partners has to be now actively shot up. Otherwise, we will find that the events would have taken us taken. I mean, events would have uh, taken up, which we wouldn't have really thought about. Strategic military posturing, non-kinetic retaliation, airspace jamming, etc., is being done. Preparation for a full-scale war, cyber and economic warfare. In my view, preparation for a full-scale war must continue at a breakneck speed, because the situation can escalate to that levels. The air chief meeting the prime minister today, possibly, maybe the indications towards this kind of a approach, and it is because of this that you find that even even the Pakistanis are in panic, and they started making those statements about nuclear issues, etc. Field is open, gray, overt, black, and white. Do everything, do it in a sustained manner, and do it for a prolonged period. The LC has to be made so difficult for the Pakistanis that they should start crying for help. They should come on their knees and say, Bachao humko, please, we surrender. So I think we made somewhere some mistake in keeping the LC quiet. Advantage was taken by the Pakistanis. They ensured that they tunneled the area, they infiltrated the terrorists. Any thaw in Pakistan-India relation is always misused by the Pakistanis. And I think this time round we should continue with the ceasefire violations which are taking place. We should give double reply, and the reply should go beyond the normal. We used to, earlier approach was we used to restrict. Okay, mortar fire to mortar fire, RT fire to RT fire. No, I think the approach should be, if it is RT fire, hello partner, this time we will do missile fire. It has to be escalated. the risks are more on his side. I believe there are some reports that they have only 4 days of sustenance. Of course,
Ammunition.
yeah, of course, we are not that great ourselves as far as war stamina is concerned, because of continuous commitment of ours also, but in CI and other related operations. But we are fairly better off than the Pakistanis, so we should continue to make them bleed economically and militarily. Then the last issue about response. This is my views. This is not the government views. Keep the LC hot for prolonged period. Use unrestricted fire if need be. Precision strike on terror camps must be undertaken. It could be from any direction. It could be by any means. But it should be announced that we are striking X, Y, Z. There is nothing gray now left between India and Pakistan. It is all black as far as India and Pakistan is concerned. So every action has to be overtly announced. And it also plays into the fact that our aspirations of the nation are also met. RT and missile engagements heat up the LC for extended period. Pak may respond with NASA tactical missiles. So be it. I believe Nasar has nuclear tactical nuclear weapon capability. So be it. Let us see what is the red line of Pakistan, because our second strike capability is much more robust than that of Pakistan, and China, in my view, is unlikely to collaborate so openly, because then China is opening the door for a WW3, World War III. Special forces operations, naval blockade and maritime operations, Karachi port disruptions, cyber and EW. I think it is not single action which is required now. It is multiple actions, multiple domains. करते चलो, तड़पा दो उनको, पानी और पानी और आग दोनों दो उनको। एक तरफ से एक तरफ से पानी खींचो और दूसरी तरफ से आग बरसाओ, तभी ये चलेगा। Then only this particular nation will learn how to behave in an international community. I mean, I have never seen a nation country's chief giving a statement the way he gave the statement. He was speaking as though he is the क्या बोलते हैं मुल्ला बादशाह and everything of Pakistan. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation. We will strike. We will, when, where, how, leave it to the military. Nation should
Yeah,
not keep crying every day for proof, for this, for that. Lot of actions are in hand. Lot of actions are being done. एक बार डिले अगर हुआ है तो उसको अब ठीक से करना है. Not as a half baked measure. Chanakya
yeah,
said that if you war is the last resort, but if you undertake war, then do so with the aim of achieving victory and nothing else. There is no other option. First of all, war is the weapon. I mean, weapon of last resort. If you undertake that approach, take that approach with the assurance that victory is going to come your way. I think that's the approach which we need to undertake. So I finish, sir. These were the views and some suggestions, some recommendations, both mixed into each other. Uh, the larger story is we need to also reform our approach as far as future is concerned, and we need to find our own solution. Dependence on external elements has to be taken as a bonus and not as a given.
yeah. Thanks a lot. I think you made some very, very, very interesting points during your entire presentation. One, US will act in its own interest and not in our interest, right? Whether it protects Pakistan or not, or whether it you know, restrains India or not will be at their interest. And this interest we saw earlier also. We saw this during Op Vijay, we saw this during Oparakram, and every action so far. So we should be clear. I think that's a very important point you've taken. While US needs us for many things, it does
Yes,
not need us. It does not need us for destroying Pakistan. That's the
correct.
first thing. The second thing
Absolutely.
is Pa- Pakistan has still some salience and value with the USA. Uh, I'd like you to, spell it out. You would have discussed with them, and we
Yeah,
also know why they need it. Could
yeah.
you spend a couple of minutes to tell everyone why does USA need Pakistan?
Okay, there are two, three reasons for it. Pakistan, by virtue of its location, is if US has leverage in Pakistan, it has leverage against China in the sense from an intelligence perspective, from its old sources which are there in Pakistan, it would be able to keep a watch on Chinese activities in this particular region. With India, that is not going to be so forthcoming because Chinese are not into India, but Chinese are into Pakistan. So it would be easier for them to create to cultivate sources, cultivate assets, so that they get to know what the Chinese are up to, what is there in their notorious mind. Similarly, with Afghanistan, they have an option because on the western side of Afghanistan, they have Iran. Iran and America do not have that kind of a relation from which they can actually exploit Afghanistan. So if they have to undertake any future operations, because China is also equally embedded in Afghanistan, then Pakistan remains the only bet for them. So therefore, they have to give them some doles. I would put it that way. I mean, upgrade of F-16. It's a dole. It's not a. It's not a really trade as such. Or giving them 7 drones. Again, they've got 7 drones. It's like वो peanuts नहीं होता है peanuts. It's like peanuts. But geographical location of Pakistan makes it imperative that US keeps Pakistan as a hedging strategy, and that hedging strategy gives them that option that should there be any kind of a pushback either along the eastern or the western flank of Pakistan against China, they have some leverage. And that is why you find that now they are trying to build linkages with Arakan army. Again, that is targeted for China. They have no love lost for Arakan army. They are supposed to be militant group. They are supposed to be fighting the country's authorized, recognized power, but they are supporting. I mean, you see, one thing which we must realize that Americans don't have any ambiguity in their approach. If they don't like your X thing, they will tell, why are you buying S-400? For example, they are very keen to sell F-35s to India. Their president announced in a joint statement where our prime minister did not reciprocate, but the president of America told unilaterally that we will be giving F-35s. Why there is no talk about that anymore? Has anyone guessed? It's not because that India has refused because of excessive cost or something like that. My own view is we should have taken 8-9 लेके रख लेना था बस. It would have helped us in creating this fear psychosis in the mind of Pakistan. It would have again got rattled a notch up more. After all, what is it's 100 million aircraft. तो ठीक है 700 million का aircraft ले लो. Even without a TOT, it would have served the short term gain. 7 billion is not nothing great as far as India is concerned, given its economy. So sometimes I think we also become too ideological in our approach. TOT होना ही चाहिए. Like one of the interactions, I was told, "Are you going to insist on TOT for every purchase?" So you're seeing their mindset. They're not fully supporting you. They say, यार दे दो, but ये TOT भी दे दो, ये भी कर दो. जैसे we have taken C-17s, they'll be happy if we take F-35s also like that, or C-130s, C-17s or C-130s. So TOT becomes a big hurdle for them. So that is why, and Pakistan readily takes F-16 मेंटेनेंस के लिए, फिर जाके भीख मांग लेगा, फिर मेंटेनेंस के लिए पैसे दे दो मेरे को. So that is why America believes in keeping all cards open, and therefore it is not going to take a very single-minded support to one element other than Israel. Even Taiwan, if you see, even with Taiwan, it in between keeps putting corrections to Taiwan's approach. So therefore, I think it's the nature of America. Keep all cards up your sleeve. पता नहीं कब कौन सा काम आ जाए.
Yeah, I think that's the right way of putting things across. पता नहीं कब क्या काम आ जाए. And
बिल्कुल.
actually, what you have today highlighted, the American plan against China to contain it, is
Absolutely.
quite interesting. Earlier, I mean, which I'd like to highlight to everyone who's watching this. Earlier, the thought of containing China was basically based from the Pacific, contain
Absolutely.
them only in the Pacific. By supporting Pakistan, by supporting Afghanistan, or trying to go back into Bagram and reoccupy Bagram, or at least hold on to Bagram in some manner, opening this Arakan front, Arakan army, story. The containment is multi-directional.
Absolutely.
It's no
Joker.
more. It's no more. It's 360 degrees,
Correct.
and this is being tackled at multiple levels, which I would like to, draw out from what we heard. At the strategic level, there's a clear idea of, you know, breaking the Russia-China relationship or watering it down to manageable proportions. That's at the strategic level. At another strategic level, they want India on their side to contain China because India is the only heavyweight against China for many things, including military, supply chains, yeah, all that. At the third level, probably a lower, lowest level, it is getting hold of all methods as to how to get to China. And in that, one way of doing it is how to poke China and how to ensure that China remains overstretched and vulnerable.
I think the third point is something like the South American strategy of theirs.
Yes, right. So the point is, we have to understand what USA is up to. It is in this construct that we have to play our own strategy,
Play our own game.
our own game. We have a game. Well, let's be very clear.
Yeah.
If we want to be Viksit Bharat by 2047, we need to at least water down. They'll not disappear, Pakistan and China, and keep them in check. So to that extent, whatever USA is doing is good for us. That's the first thing which I wanted to put across to everyone. And I'm drawing quite a lot from what General Dushyant has said. Okay. And at the second level, we have to understand what we will counter when we go ahead with our own plans, because we have our own interests. Like he has his own interests, we should play to our own interests. And we should know how to sidestep all these. The third point, which again General Dushyant made, is very simple. There's no hurry to sort out Pakistan. Pakistan has existed there for 75, 80 years next to us. The idea of Pakistan, and when I say Pakistan, the idea, I'm going from the beginning of the idea of Pakistan, which started much before independence. So I think we need to take a holistic view, and I think we need to, like what General Dushyant said, take a long-term view, and that long-term could be 5, 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, 1 year. It doesn't matter. And some things have started, and more are to take place. I thought this was what the sum total of what General Dushyant told us,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So with this, can I go in and ask some questions?
Yes, sir.
With from this, yeah. Now, before everyone, this questions and things like that, what I'd like to say is, there's a question: how do we handle China in this conditions? Yeah, whoa. So I'm going to talk tomorrow, and then tomorrow we're going to talk the chink in the park armor, and he's got a lot to worry about. Where he should understand while USA treats China as its rival, and it's behaving with China as its rival and all that. We also have to understand China has its own problems. And in this case, whatever we do to Pakistan over the next 1 year, 3 months, 4 months, whatever the time, China will support Pakistan. And we should understand how much support China can give. And for that, we have to do a bit of a dive into China, and that's what we'll do tomorrow. And that thing is the thumbnail which I made for tomorrow. Have a look at the thumbnail again so that you get a clear idea. Sorry.
Yeah, not this
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
ये है, ठीक है ना? तो ये है, it's a chink in the park armor, and you should get these chaps out of bed, or at least make each other them realize that it's not good for them to stay in bed with each other for a long time. So that's what will be there tomorrow.